This is the 295th episode of CloudFocus Weekly for the last week of September 2018. This episode is titled Dreamforce 18 Live. CloudFocus Weekly is brought to you by Clone This User, duplicates you love. Clone an existing Salesforce user with a click of a button via the desktop or Salesforce mobile. Available for free on the App Exchange, celebrating 10 years. Or go to www.clonethisuser.com. By the way, that'll bring you to the App Exchange, so no worries there. You're going to the same place. I'm your host with the most, Jason Howard, and joining me, co-host with maybe 90% of the most, Justin Edelstein. How are you doing?
90% of the voice.
Oh, yeah.
That's for sure.
I'm definitely voiced out, and I can't figure out why I'm voiced out.
I know why I am.
Just been talking for 3 days.
Talking, little cold here. You know, the Dreamforce flu.
Well, that's usually from going out too late, drinking too much, not sleeping enough.
You mean that cheeseburger I had at 2:30 a.m. last evening was a bad idea?
Always a good choice.
I make good life choices, okay?
Yeah, you do.
And that was one of them in the moment.
Just to set the scene, you probably can't hear our voice, so thanks for downloading.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll see you next time.
And here's my thank you slide.
This is the best one yet.
Yes, this is the best podcast yet. We should start off, everybody. Oh, not that. In a whole new way.
In a whole new way.
This is the podcast.
We're going to delight you in a whole new way.
Whole new way.
And it's going to be the best one yet until the next one.
So we are live from we are sponsored today by Muzak.
Muzak
pumped
at
into the
Hyatt Regency lobby.
Yes, at the Embarcadero. It is our hotel of choice. It is one of the most cool lobbies because they just do cool things in Hyatt.
Hyatts do cool things,
but
don't
it
they?
is
it's very barren.
It's barren
and loud.
And loud.
Cavernous.
But we are sitting apart from each other, hoping to try to set so we don't get double reverb. But you will be hearing music, and if we get sued, well, that's the last episode. This could be the last episode.
Sued by what?
Well,
sue me for what?
You're not allowed to play music that you don't own the rights to. So
yeah,
in theory,
is like Muzak.
Well, no, these are real songs.
So should we stop?
No, we just should make it so they can't actually hear the real songs.
How do we do that?
They could hear that noise.
There's vacuuming?
Yeah. This is the best.
And this is definitely the best one
At
yet.
least I didn't make you sit
going.
on the floor or some beanbag.
Oh, huddling around a snowball.
One snowball.
One snowball for two voices.
That's terrible.
Never
all right. But we're here. We're at Dreamforce. We are live, although each and every one of our podcasts is live. And we're talking about Dreamforce. So it's day
2? Day 2 of the drama?
It's day 2. This is a 4-day Dreamforce, as I saw yesterday. It's Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
Yep.
Friday. They all have a different theme to the day.
Yep.
So we really only have part of what's been announced, but the major stuff's been announced. At least we've gone to a keynote. Boy, that's lovely. We've gone to a keynote and an admin keynote, but we haven't done like true to the core, which is today. But we've had tons of stuff, lots to talk about. Always like to start off. What's the vacuuming of the year? I mean, what's the vibe of the year?
Vacuuming for the most part, I think.
It's just gonna be everybody just stop listening right now and catch us another time. No, okay, all right. So what's the vibe? How do you feel in the vibe?
I like the vibe this year.
Yeah?
It's like kind of laid back, low key, in my opinion.
Okay.
I mean, that's just the way I'm playing it, maybe, but.
Do you think it has anything to do with the space because they've kind of chopped off north a little bit? So like the whole like middle street, not
Howard
Market,
Street?
but what?
Howard
is usually like more blown out, but it's like half chopped off now because Moscone North is like half built out into the street.
Well,
like,
south.
South is blown into the street. North is not.
South looks enormous.
Well, clearly these are just because they can do bigger and bigger conferences. They're never going to be able to solve the hotel thing, though. It's still apparently a nightmare.
They're going to have people sleeping in the Salesforce tower, I think.
Yes, that could be a thing.
Hey, I went there.
Yeah, well, so
it was pretty cool.
Besides the vibe, it's supposedly the best one ever. It's supposed to be the biggest one ever. I do have this gut feeling, though, that I don't know, like I mean, they're never going to say that there's less people. Like, they'll never say, but eventually there's got to be less people than the year before.
It doesn't feel any bigger than the last 4 years.
It doesn't feel, actually, it feels smaller. Like, I feel like there's less people, just crowds. I mean, it's just crowds of people, but
what buildings have you been to?
North, south, west.
So you've only
I
done
also went to the
Moscone?
AMC, the one across the street, whatever that is, because they have the COA stuff up there. I haven't been, and I went to one other hotel.
So the Hilton is crazy.
Is it?
And yeah, and the Westin is
Insane.
well, that's where all the .org stuff is.
Right.
So I've made my way over there, and that's kind of a hike. That's kind of the thing, and that's a commitment. It's like you're going over there, you're going to stay over there for a little while.
Yeah, you're not going there for...
You got to make good choices.
You're not going there for lunch and then coming right back.
No. Or just catch one session there and then try and hop back for another one at Moscone. It ain't working.
Yes, sessions. I remember
Sessions.
I remember those things.
I went to a session yesterday.
Yeah, what'd you go to?
I went to, it was called K-12 Wraparound Services.
Okay.
And it was pretty cool.
Cool.
Got to see one of our clients, Hannah Boy Center. They presented their solution.
Nice.
And they did a really nice job. It was a really good presentation of what school, so they sort of operate outside of public money.
Right.
And then there was a private program from Boston, and shame on me for not remembering their name.
Yep.
But they were talking about services that are complementary to just school.
Right.
So, clinical services and how you would do like recruitment, admissions, things of that nature. And it was really cool. Really, it was about the clinical side of things, wraparound services for the students. Really good session, very informative. Unfortunately, it was scheduled at the same exact time as the nonprofit keynote.
Right.
So you've got this K-12 nonprofit session that would otherwise be rather well attended, and it probably had like 30 people in there, but they had a pretty decent sized room,
I think the whole keynote thing, I mean, first of all, there's just too many keynotes to even, you can just pick like, hey, I maybe want to go to 2, but you can't get to all the keynotes. And this started years ago where it's like they broke them all out.
Now every product has their own keynote.
Right. And then there's main keynotes, and then there's admin keynote, and then there's...
Fireside chats.
Steve
Kerr.
So
Andre
many things.
Iguodala. Basically just the Warriors.
The
Warriors
that's right.
are here.
Well, let's talk about, the 2 keynotes. I saw half the admin keynote because I had to leave for our annual lunch with Mr. Torman. Saw some interesting stuff.
Yeah, I was told to ask you about that.
Okay. So I saw half of it. So I'll only answer of the...
Got it.
Okay.
So I was told that there's a concerted effort during the admin keynote to really show things that are like either real or very close to real, and doing it live on the stage in setup. Like, get into the setup. Because it's the admin keynote.
Right.
This is not the flashy Sales Cloud keynote where you can gloss over some things and show, the vision. It's more like, hey, jump into setup and then like click on this thing and click on that thing and drag and drop and magic. And it's real, look. And that's what we were yearning for. It was probably one of the better keynotes you've been to in years.
It was okay. I think it's getting a little tough now with Trailhead DX. Because
DX has good keynotes.
So because DX is basically the admin keynote with all the admin stuff, and they really move away from even the marketing stuff, and they go right into not this last DX, but the one before it, where I was just amazed. They were showing DX at Trailhead DX is whatever. Someone come up with a better naming convention. The naming your product the same as your Well,
one is Trailhead DX and the other is Salesforce DX.
Yeah,
they're different.
It's not at all confusing.
It's totally different.
When you say DX,
well, they're completely different things.
In a whole new way.
In the best way possible.
So
it used to not be so great, now it's great.
They did show some stuff. Again, it was very, very quick. I had to leave at the time. They'd already gone through the sort of, here's a new here's some stories about admins, here's the trailblazing community. Again, that's very heavy again this year. That's always going to be heavy. But they showed a couple things, really more Lightning configurability, showing dependent fields, showing dependent sections. We've had dependent components, now we have dependent sections and dependent fields. Those are massive.
Dependent fields.
Massive.
Has been, give me that for the last 10 years, please.
Yeah, so that's coming. I both go, wow, we're going to be able to do cool stuff.
Thanks,
but
Lightning.
I also think we're going to be able to make some really confusing UIs.
But thanks, Lightning.
Yeah, thanks, Lightning. Hashtag, thanks, Lightning. They did have to refresh the whole page to make it work, so,
I was like,
yeah.
We're still working out the kinks.
So there was a couple things in there. I was like, oh, that's cool. I mean, I think we should skip right to the big keynote because that's sort of the big one.
Well, that is the main attraction.
The main attraction.
My whole family watched it from home.
Wow. Did they get together?
No.
Okay.
I sent them the link. I said, hey, this is starting in 5 minutes. So if you want to watch it, I'm here. And this is what I do. So give it a listen or give it a watch, give it a try. And I will say both my parents were super impressed with Mark Benioff. They were like, whoa, what an inspirational leader.
Well, let's talk about that from a keynote. So the interesting thing, I was invited to one, but I wasn't around for it.
I was also invited and I could not make it.
Yeah, so they do a tour of the country, Salesforce does, and they show this keynote, the Dreamforce keynote, and they get feedback. We just happened to be sitting between, I think, two people on either side of us who had been and seen the keynote. So they were like, oh, I wonder if they're going to take this feedback. I wonder if they're going to take this feedback. And so, I think every year it's just always something different. This year, I love when they start more core to what Salesforce is. This year, he really went into it. Mark Benioff went into it. We started with the pregame stuff. Not so much sort of bringing up people, more showing stories. So kind of pre-stories.
Peter Coffey just
the voice of Peter Coffey.
But
when Benioff come out, I think in some ways I thought it was a little bit better because it was less the same old, and he's doubling down on the what companies should be, and the morality of a company, and I personally love that take on the world, and I think he really just drilled it, and I know it pisses people off, and I know it upsets people as much as that vacuum cleaner, but it really it's a bold choice.
Where is this vacuum cleaner?
It's way up
there.
This
is like the Peter Coffey of vacuum cleaners.
It is. It's the Peter Coffey. It's a vacuum cleaner in a whole new way.
It's the greatest vacuum cleaner.
I really like that. I really like that this company, again, for all the foibles and all the stuff, and I'm going to point out some of the things that I think are just off, but for the stuff that's on, give them a massive credit. They have this great ability to come in and make statements and really double down on, again, it's the same thing they've been doing for 2 years, which is the fourth industrial revolution, but really talking about...
In case you didn't realize,
yes,
there's been 3 before, and we are now in the 4th.
But this spin was, it's not just about IoT, and it's not just about cloud, and it's not just about whatever. It's also about businesses that are willing to stand on a moral ground and fight for what's right, and include all the things that Salesforce is very good at including, which is, gender equality and sexual equality, and
and it's all based on the UN Global Compact values.
They don't pick all of them, but they're picking
there's
major
17
things,
of them,
right?
so you can't pick them all.
But it's such an interesting take, and again, I think it's so brave, and I love that, and he even pulled in other people, and he's like, and they made an announcement with Apple, which we should talk about, but he's like, even Tim Cook, and I think that's it's one of the core things that I come back to, talking about Salesforce and talking about the change in, I think, even the way this country is being run, that there's a big scare of how these companies are now bigger and more powerful than they've ever been, and they have more ability to change things. And in the 50s and 60s and even 80s, 80s was run by financial services companies, In the 50s and 60s, maybe it was big oil, and before that it was
and
railroad
ad
companies
agencies and tobacco.
Yeah.
Come on.
But that's the thing. Where was their morality? Where were they fighting? Where they were just in for it for the profit, and now we're seeing this change.
Well, what do they call it? Capitalism with a conscience.
Yep.
Right.
Well, compassionate capitalism.
Compassionate capitalism. I mean,
Yes.
it all like comes through.
It's the 111. But anyway, this is a company that really stands behind it, and I thought they did a great. It was a little bit of a twist this time, and so I thought it was good. I thought it was a good. It was a good start to the keynote. One of the things I thought they got right, +1 for Salesforce.
Yeah. The first I would say hour to an hour and 15 of that keynote was pretty solid.
Maybe about 45 minutes in. And then they made a big announcement, which, they usually do nonprofit stuff. It's usually a nonprofit they work with in some shape or form. They had one that was...
well, they did the Philanthropy
Way.
Cloud. Well, it was Philanthropy Cloud,
Okay.
which is very tightly tied to the United Way.
Right.
At the moment, that's the main partner of the Philanthropy Cloud. So any company can create philanthropic programs within their organization to give very simply to the United Way.
You're an Arkus employee. We make an agreement with United Way. They set up all our employees on their community in the Philanthropy Cloud. They can log in.
It's deeper than that.
They can go into Salesforce.
It's in ours.
In our org.
That's how I understand it.
Okay. Demos. #demos. Either way, they're from our Salesforce. They log into something else. They're then using this thing to say, on their mobile, whatever, say, I want to give. And they can pick what they want to give to.
Yep.
Right. So
they could see their impact and where it's going, where's the money going, what's my profile. It's a big idea, and it's been brewing for a long time.
But I thought it'd be bigger, more joining other, because it seems like, it feels like what would happen is, Red would do a Philanthropy Cloud, and then Red Cross would do one, and then United Way would do one.
It's a very big idea.
Yeah.
And they had to start with one. And it's been brewing for years. I've been hearing about it for at least 2.
So that was one of the big announcements. Yeah. And then, as we know in this podcast, we talk about it all the time, they did a massive, I guess really a big stage launch of an organization that we're extremely tied to and really involved in many different ways, Pep Up Tech. And, I mean, that was awesome. That was it was so fun to see.
Yeah.
I mean, we've had clients up on the big stage. We've had clients that we've been a part of in some ways. But to have a nonprofit that we truly believe in and we've, seen grow up, and, I mean, from everything from Arkus employees being involved at the very start of this stuff up to, being tightly tied. These people from a long way back. So it's a really cool thing to watch Pep Up Tech kind of get kicked off, like in kind of ways.
Yeah.
It's like it's their
This was their GA launch.
Yes.
They've been operating for 2 years.
Yeah, 2 years.
And been doing their thing and getting students hired. But this was broadcasted to the masses.
With the 20 million people streaming.
Yeah.
And the 175. So that was great. Yes. Great to see that.
Partner who shall not be named
got a little teary-eyed.
Let me know that he was a little teary-eyed.
Yeah.
Cried a little.
Good
thing he doesn't listen.
Yeah.
Or actually, you know what? I would like him to hear that.
Oh, yeah, he cried a little.
It's good to shed a tear once in a while when people are doing
again,
good in the world.
it's there's a word that I think is kind of overused and weird called proud, the word proud. And when I use the word proud, like I say it in terms of something that I have connection to, that I've had a help in making happen. So it's like, my child. If I said, I'm proud of you doing great in school, right? Like I have a say in that. I've helped get them there. And I had a little bit. I haven't done a ton, but I've been involved a little bit. You've had 10 times more involvement than I have. And you have that feeling of like proud. Like I'm proud of them and proud of where they're going in a whole new way. No, in a real way.
In the best way possible.
In the best way possible.
In the best way yet.
So that was one of the announcements.
Yeah, and we had the whole crew, or not the whole crew, but a lot of the crew. 3 of the 4 co-founders were at our event last night.
Yeah, that was cool.
And
Party doesn't start
I think
until
there were
Pep Up
about
arrives.
15 to 20 students were there.
Yeah.
And we all huddled up. We took a photo. I hope that gets out there somewhere in the social world.
Maybe it will. And then I think there's two other big announcements. I did the customer stories.
Go ahead, do it.
What?
Just it needs to be done.
The second customer
Yeah,
story?
that's
right.
not okay.
Okay, so
Salesforce, we need to put some like reality glasses on for a moment.
Here's I think something that Salesforce could do better at. You want the feedback, you want trust, you want transparency. Here's some feedback, here's some transparency for you.
Real talk.
I think there's something we use at Arkus, and we don't always do it right, and I do it wrong, and we as a company do it wrong, but something we try to think about a lot is optics. And optics to us is, how does something look from someone else's viewpoint, right? And so when you do something as amazing as launch Pep Up Tech, which is about helping people in represented areas get into the job market, to get jobs in this industry and to get trained, which is, it's a hard thing to do. And the story of people coming from very tough backgrounds and not having a lot to start and being, having to fight for everything. And then you flip to the next story, and the next demo you do is where a billionaire buys a $3,400 jacket online with his phone. It just struck me as like, come on, that's just that's
cool tech, but did you have to? They could have thrown the Unilever story in right after.
Something.
The Unilever story would have been just fine.
Yeah.
It really would have. It would have been fine right after. And then you could go to the, I know this is a global company now. You've got to show a story from EMEA. I get it.
Yeah.
But it didn't need to necessarily be the next thing. Let's talk about, people struggling.
Right. Where $3,400 is like
handcrafted Italian suit. Now, nothing against that.
No,
fine,
great.
Do your thing. If you can buy that, cool. Go buy it. Do your thing.
But But the other thing is like, again. So then you go the storyline, and someone just should have run this by somebody with some optics. The storyline was that he goes in and he buys a jacket, $3,400.
Wrong color.
I have too many of this color.
Too many blue suits.
So you have too many $3,400.
Too many of these suits.
Blue suits. Come on.
We don't often get on Parker because we like us some Parker.
But it's not Parker.
I know, but he was the one who delivered it.
He didn't sit there and write up like, here's my script. It's just someone had to think through that a little bit.
Yeah.
And again, I think they do amazing things, and I will praise them as high as I kind of think about my kid. I will praise my kid as far as I possibly can, but when she does wrong, I'm the first to say, you messed up, kid.
I've seen it.
Yes, you've seen it. And this is one of those that I just, again, for all the good, maybe just think about that optics and think about how you present things. And, I would say it's like, you need a keynote aperitif. You need something in between the main meals that kind of makes you forget that you just watched about this very uplifting story that was really, it'd almost be like doing like, here's Puerto Rico and wiped out and blah, blah, and then tomorrow, and the next thing is like, here's how you buy a yacht. It's like, come on, just have a little bit of sense of that. Or go from buying the yacht to the helping. That actually feels better. But when you do it the opposite way, it just makes it feel like you just didn't think this through.
The issue goes back to like, there being so many keynotes now that a lot of the product stuff doesn't necessarily make it into the main keynote.
Yeah.
And there was some product stuff that did get into the main keynote, like Einstein Voice.
Yeah, which we should talk about.
We will. That would have been something that they could have thrown in the middle.
Yes.
If you just take that and put it right after the Pep Up Tech story and just show it and like wow people with your tech, which is really what we're here to see. We're here for your technology.
For 200,000 years.
Forever.
No, I was talking about the guy. Anyway, if you saw the keynote, you know that.
It was 2,000 years.
Was it 2,000 years?
2,000.
Whatever.
That guy was, cool. All right, and
moving on.
Moving right along. Not getting in trouble today. So, they could have put the Einstein Voice in the middle.
Yeah.
and then moved on and said, let's now talk about a great customer story. Because, at the end of the day, we had a feel-good story about workforce development and about how this ecosystem is booming.
Yep.
And the jobs are there for the taking.
But people are struggling to learn them, and people are coming from tough backgrounds.
Right.
And, and Selena's story, and it was just too soon, dude. Like, too soon in the keynote.
Go to Einstein Voice, and then come back to the Italian soup maker.
Yeah.
Whose name I can't remember at all.
Again, it reminded me kind of. So as we were doing this, you and I sitting there kind of quipping a little mini podcast. Maybe we should just live.
We should just have mics on us all the time. No.
By the way, want to get sued? Want to get sued? Let's do that.
Yeah, right.
So we're going back and forth, but I had an epiphany, and because I was saying to you, I had an epiphany about the keynote in general. And I started saying, remember that year that they had like Huey Lewis in the News? We were talking about bands.
Yeah.
And remember that year they had this? And remember that year they brought out the time machine? And they brought out Parker came out in the lightning suit. And what it reminded me of is how quirky and kind of crazy the keynote always is. It's kind of, it's always been kind of strange. And so this year when they do kind of strange stuff.
When Einstein's floating around in a hot air balloon, you mean?
Yeah, it doesn't, in the drone, because he's doing a 360, because we're announcing this 360 thing. Anyway, so it kind of made me go, all right, it's been 12 years of this. This is what they're going to do. You're going to have some gimmicky thing that's just what they want to do. It's fun. And you know what? That's okay. It doesn't all have to be, stories of loss. It doesn't have to be all demos. It's a little mix of both. But anyway, so that's the end of the rant on that. At least a drone didn't deliver my Coke while a server bear attacked the server room, and we
now know that was Cody.
And we get analytics on trying to buy a yacht.
Well, now we know that was Cody.
Well,
server bear. Clearly.
So Cody was what happened to Cody that Cody was out of control enough to destroy the server room?
Cody was like, I just write code. I don't care about hardware.
Okay. And then I think that, so the two other announcements, one, they didn't really announce there. They announced as a sort of like quickly, but I read the press release a couple times to figure out. They pre-announced it on Monday, which was Apple and Salesforce. It seems like a two-way street, like a give-get sitch, where Apple is going to help Salesforce integrate Siri and Salesforce together.
So there's going to be a new SDK to build native iOS apps that will be way more tightly integrated than what currently exists.
Which is very cool.
Yes.
That's the Apple helping Salesforce. Then the Salesforce helping Apple is, we'll take your learning, what you want to do in building your developer community of Swift programmers, and we'll put it on Trailhead.
Yeah.
So
and that'll even get Salesforce developers more interested in being iOS developers and building on Salesforce's platform and Apple's platform. It's a good. It's all good.
It's a great thing.
It's also two of your favorite companies.
Well, it's also a company that the two of the companies I follow the closest. I rarely see Apple do this. Apple doesn't do this very often.
Yeah, they don't partner often specifically with other technology companies
or content companies. Like, they don't do like that. So I thought that was really cool. I think that's a bigger win for Salesforce, because that's the biggest company in the world giving Salesforce the checkbox to Trailhead and saying, hey, we think Trailhead's real.
Yeah.
Here you go. And it's probably a test. It's probably not, the full thing. And so Apple also has their own, Swift learning platform. They have their own application, which is supposed to be very good. I've tried it a couple times, but haven't gone through it completely. Anyway, I'm fascinated by that. And then, speaking of talking to a person and having
not a person,
a dead person. It's a little weird that when you're doing Einstein Live, you're talking to a dead person.
Well, you're talking.
I hear dead people.
You're really talking to your phone.
But Einstein's dead, man.
Yeah.
At least Siri didn't exist. Imagine if it was Jobs and he said, "Hey, Jobs, like, can you turn on my music?"
Well, He's and I yes. This was part of our quipping back and forth. And
quipping, hashtag.
No pun intended, about the product quip. And we actually thought again about the optics of the Salesforce AI engine being called Einstein.
Yes.
Like, we get it. Einstein, genius. We get it.
Right. Someone Googled, like, smart people, and it was the number one
Einstein
result.
popped up. But now you have to refer to this AI engine as a he.
Yeah.
And it actually has a gender pronoun, and it's he. And that we thought was sort of another, like, sort of weird miss from the first half hour to the third half hour.
Sometimes, yeah. Sometimes it's like one hand doesn't know what the other's doing. And I know you can't go through and just change everything immediately, but that's one of those you could have thought, that.
It didn't need to be called Einstein.
No,
you could have called it anything.
Anything. Literally anything.
Yeah. Watson.
Chatty.
Watson. That's another one, though. It's
Chatty.
Like named after
Yeah.
another guy.
Yeah. Okay. So they
Could
announced...
have been Chatty, but Chatty's dead. Isn't Chatty dead?
Who killed Chatty?
Who killed Chatty? Anyway.
Hashtag forever. Einstein voice.
That was an impressive demo.
Very impressive. So
Especially a live demo.
for
That
those
was
who
very
aren't
impressive.
here or who haven't seen the videos or whatever, Einstein voice is a combination of voice recognition. So I click on Einstein voice on my Salesforce mobile. Sorry, I'm still making that mistake. Salesforce mobile. I click on it. I dictate to it, which is the first part. It recognizes all the things I'm saying.
It then analyzes it.
Well, into this note.
Right.
Then you say, click button, analyze, and then he goes ahead.
That's right. That's how it was stated.
Yes,
He.
and that's where we had to fit. You
As
had to fit
opposed
a little
to
bit.
it.
Right,
Because it is a technology.
right. Whatever.
It's not a he. It's an it.
It's branding, baby.
Just call it.
Could have been Astro.
Call it Astro.
Hey, Astro.
Should have just been Astro.
Should have been Astro. Although I don't know if Astro's that smart.
We think Astro's pretty smart.
Dressing up in that must be a very hot thing to be
It's a
dressed up in.
very hot suit.
So then it will go through and your dictation, so it's written down all your words, and you would think this would also be if you wrote it. So like if I wrote a note called, I had a meeting with blah, 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 and then what they did is they showed a meeting, and basically it was the call notes with some takeaways, stuff that we do constantly, but then analyze, and it picked through, and it connected all this stuff to Salesforce data.
Yeah.
It found the person, the contact. It found a task. It found a meeting refined.
Well,
it found
it
some
created a task.
updates. Right, so it found a task to do.
Right,
It
something
found
to do.
updates to an opportunity. Like, it did these things, and then it walked you through it. I guess it was kind of cool. Like, it said, okay, I found this. Do you want to do this? Yes. Do you want to do this? Because obviously you don't want to automatically do it.
Yeah.
Close
You could really ruin
loss
that.
op.
You could really ruin, like,
I think we might close
your
loss this
forecast
opportunity.
pretty bad.
So it walks you through what it found, and then at the end, does the updates to Salesforce. Very cool. Apparently coming in 19.
It said not winter 19, but like the year 2019.
Yes, generally available.
Generally available
Which
the
means
year
they'll have to beta
2019.
at some point.
Now, you know what I thought was the most
And
impressive?
they did say free to all people who have.
They never
mobile.
used the word free.
Okay.
So you picked that out, but Parker never said that. He said, we're going to be delivering this to all of you in Salesforce Mobile. You can all have this. And he never said it was free.
That would be
we'll see.
That's a bad.
But the UI
bad
of
omen.
you saw the UI of Salesforce Mobile was very different.
Yes.
It was like the new Lightning UI. So it was cool. It had like a docked lower nav.
Right.
Like they were on an iOS device.
Kind of looked like the old Salesforce mobile.
Right, and then it had the actions on the top.
Right.
Which I think that's actually a good navigational scheme for the app. And especially as the screens get bigger on these phones, you can use the top and the bottom.
Yep.
The most impressive part of that demonstration to me was that they made a good choice in terms of the person who demoed it.
Okay.
I do not
Tell me
recall
why.
their name, but they had a very thick accent.
Right.
And Einstein voice had no problem.
That's true.
Not a problem
It's always
at
a
all.
complaint for people that's
Yeah.
like it doesn't pick up your voice.
I mean, it was a very thick Asian accent,
Yep.
and it Picked it up perfect.
No problem.
Like every single word was perfect. Now we don't know. That was a demo.
Yeah.
We have no clue.
We were quipping, so if you want to hear the quips, we were like, that was an
yeah,
easy demo because
that was easy. It found the one contact in the org and the one account in the org and the one opportunity in the
how many
org.
records in that org? 3.
It's like, oh, that's really performant to really just find all that stuff so quickly on a mobile device.
I was talking with a client today. We went for the Dreamforce 5K run, which you skipped. And
2:30 a.m. cheeseburgers tend to have you skip 6 a.m. 5Ks.
And we, in her org, there are like one of these accounts is there's like 50 of them all named separately. They're separate accounts, but they're all like something school, but they're all the same. Like 50 of them. And if that thing would have just blown up, it'd be like, I don't know. So
well, no, it asked. It's like, which of these?
I know, but what if it's 50 of them?
There'll be a screen with 10, and then you'll have to scroll and it'll lazy load. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe it'll be a compact layout that'll allow you to display like 4 or 5 fields that will allow you to determine.
So I thought that's probably the best thing I've seen so far. As we said before, and as we said in last week, and as I've been on Twitter and whatever, I still am a little like, stop announcing things that are next year. Just stop. I don't.
Well, that's why you like the admin keynote, right? Like, weren't they showing stuff that's like right around the corner, or like stuff that even exists already?
Last year they showed the Integration Cloud and they showed My Trailhead.
They showed Integration Cloud this year, and they made it look like anybody can just click 4 clicks and just do API level integrations.
For an agile company that knows the way agile software development works, that it's all about, listen, you can only get so much work done, to kind of promise things in the future and show it. I just wish they would kind of take a step. And the perfect way to do it, and I know no one's going to like this, the perfect way to do it would be one release cycle. We've talked about this before. Do one release cycle where it's all true to the core. Then, in the background, be developing the new thing that you're actually going to launch within a 2-month period of Dreamforce, and that's what you can go forward with. But like this here's this super cool thing, and they've done it with so many products, with My Trailhead, they did it with the original Einstein, they did it with, I think the Integration Cloud they did it with. There's been so many things that they kind of show, and then, 6 months, 9 months later, it's like, where is that thing? Is that even out yet? I don't know. I don't know. That bugs me. It just still bugs me. I wish they would not do it. It's a very Microsoft vaporware type of thing to do.
It is,
and it's not. I don't feel like it's to their trust and transparency. And they like to talk about trust and transparency. I think those two things go away when you overpromise things and you don't show the transparency of where they actually end up being. Okay, there's my other rant. What else has gone on? We went and hung out a lot last night. We're up way too late. Went for a run. We got True to the Core tonight. Or I got True to the Core tonight, this afternoon, which should be fun. I'm volunteering this afternoon.
That's what that standed for.
TTC.
Yeah, you were like TTTC. And
True to the Core.
I'm like, what is that? I even asked. I'm like, what even is the thing that you're talking about? What time is that?
I think it's either 3:30 or 4:30. I could pull it up in my calendar right now, live from Dreamforce.
Yeah. Where's that?
So that will be later.
I'm
True to the Core, 3 Pacific time, 3:30.
Where?
I don't know. I just threw it in my.
Terrible.
The friend who should not be named threw it in my calendar.
I am not going to be able to attend that because I'm going to go watch. I'm going to go watch Scott Searle speak at the Westin.
Well, I got
during a theater session.
That same person told me to not go to his session.
He said, "Don't go to True to the Core. I want to hear the roadmap."
There you go. So we'll go to that.
That's a true Arky right there.
There you go. Anyway, so far, really enjoying it. I think the thing that he got up and said, Benioff says that I've said every year, and I'll keep saying, and he says it now, and everybody says it, which is just the reunion aspect. It's my favorite piece. I now feel like I don't even have enough time to meet with all the people I want to meet with and talk to. I feel like I'm barely going to get to the expo, but I'm putting people first. I really want to see people, hang out with people, catch up. find good things. You know, that to me, that family reunion stuff, and yes, Ohana and all that, I really enjoy. From clients to Arkus to people we've known for 10 plus years at Salesforce. Some have gone on to do other things. Some are still at Salesforce. Playing my Dreamforce bingo. It's the best. Anyway, so much fun. I love it. It's a fun event, and watching it's best my question this year to everybody's been like, which Dreamforce is this? Because it's so different to watch people who this is their first and their just eyes are like spinning in their head, to people who second, which I think is your best Dreamforce. Because your second Dreamforce, you got it, and you're like, oh, now I can I'm still can get into the super hype, but at least I got the don't try to get to too much. So second Dreamforce, probably the best Dreamforce, although 10th was mine. Anyway, I love it. So I'm super happy. Can't wait to see some of this stuff later on. And all good stuff. You? That's it? Oh, he's mad at me. Won't talk anymore. I should just cut your mic. That'd be funny. All right, well, I hope you enjoyed the...
You? What was the question? That was like...
Good job.
No
good
question.
job paying attention.
There's no question there.
I'm taking away your computer next time.
Question mark?
Listen...
It's all right, my voice is going, and I don't have a beverage here, so...
my voice has been going.
My voice is basically gone. So.
And hopefully I won't talk for the next hour. Not going to happen.
Right.
All right, so that's it. We're not going to do picks this week because it's just not going to. But we will be back next week or the week after. Have some wrap-ups, maybe talk a little bit more about Winter 19. And we still have on our agendas here to, at some point, hit the Lex debate, which will be fun to do. I'm going to take Pro, of course, Pro Lex. See how much trouble we get in that one.
Well, no, you're not taking Pro Lex.
That's what we call in the biz a joke.
Oh, got it.
For the listening audience.
Got it.
Yeah. All right. So until next week, it's Justin and Jason saying, enjoy those cloudy, Muzaki days.